Mom, Managing Our Minds, P3, D3, R3 by Dr. D.V. Pasupuleti, MD, FACP, FAANEM, Neurologist, USA. How to control your mind. Do this to destroy chaotic racing thoughts. As a physician for 47 years and as a professor of medicine, neurologist, psychiatrist, neuroelectromyographer, teacher, educator, author, academician, and mentor to the medical students, I thought maybe I can share my knowledge about the root causes of racing and chaotic thoughts from the viewpoint of a neurologist and psychiatrist. These racing thoughts, if not controlled, will eventually lead to depression, anxiety, poor memory, poor marital social relationships, unemployment, insomnia, high blood pressure, crimes, and the list goes on. All human problems and conflicts in the world will boil down to ignorance of the knowledge about absolute reality, and ignorance is the root cause of all the evils in the world. If ignorance is a problem, the definitive solution is knowledge. Hence, I suggest the probable solution is cognitive change by learning the higher knowledge of absolute reality and ultimate truth. Cognitive change only can reform a person, culture, country, and even the world, so that we can march towards peace at an individual and global level. If ignorance is a problem, knowledge is a definitive solution. Knowledge is power, and as old saying goes, if you give fish to a person, he eats it for that day, and if you teach him how to fish, he eats for life. We can dispel the darkness that is ignorance with the light that is knowledge. As part of my contribution to the world, I would like to brainstorm the higher knowledge of absolute reality and ultimate truth and attempt to invoke the people's minds. Good ideas are worth sharing, and of course, value is a value for a person who values the value of that value. Dr. Pasupuleti, MD, FACP, FAANEM, Neurologist, USA. Now, before learning how to control the mind, we need to understand some basics about the brain and the mind. Brain is one of the most important complex inner organs of the human body, and mind is one of its 4 functions. Mind is the medium through which the all-pervasive consciousness, awareness, reflects fully in human beings. Brain has 2 hemispheres connected by a bridge called corpus callosum, where left and right halves of the brain communicate. Brain is 2% of total body weight, about 3 lbs, and it has 70% of water content. There are 100 billion brain cells. There are 4 kinds of brain cells, namely neurons, astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, and microglial cells. Neurons, that is nerve cells, are the most important cells that generate electrical and chemical signals called impulses, which keep us conscious, alive, and function. There are about 86 billion of neurons, and they communicate with each other via connections called synapses, which are around 100 trillion connections, greater than the number of stars in the sky. World Wide Web in the computer functions similar to these synapses. The memory capacity of an adult human brain was testified to have equal to 2.5 petabytes of memory capacity. A petabyte means 1024 terabytes or a million gigabytes, so that the average adult human brain can accumulate the equivalent of 2.5 million gigabytes or 2560 terabytes of memory. Each cell has 3 to 7 bytes of memory. Brain can accommodate the whole universe in it. Brain plays 4 major roles, just like an actor plays different roles on the stage, and they are: mind is flow of thoughts, that is mental chatter, and is like water flow of a mighty river, and also is the expression of knowledge. Intellect, ability to understand and grasp, decisiveness, judgment. Ego, doership, feeling of I am. Memory, feelings, stored opinions, information that gives meaning. We should know that the left and right half of the brain have specific and different functions. Left half of brain, speech and language, personal identity, ego, I am. Intellect, judgment, memories, analysis, process the information from the 5 senses. Connection to the right half of the brain and to external world. Right half of brain, intuition, arts, music, poetry, sports. It thinks about the present. Oneness, harmony, bliss, real, true, authentic self. Feeling of pure energy, expansiveness. Awareness into cosmos, tranquility. Spatial orientation. The right hemisphere is dominant in newborn babies, and that's why babies can smile all the time. But that bliss slowly fades away as we grow older and as the left hemisphere dominates. Mind. Mind is nothing but flow of thoughts, and we call it mental chatter, and it's like water flow of a mighty river. Mind can have 35 to 100 thoughts per minute and 40,000 to 100,000 thoughts per day when we are awake. Out of these, 80 to 85% of the thoughts are about the past, 10 to 15% are about the future, and less than 5% are about present, that is family, friends, job, body and health. Among the thousands of thoughts our mind generates per day, 80% are negative thoughts, 10% are about money, ourselves, our bodies, our families, jobs, comforts, sports and so on. 5% are about friends, others, and only less than 5% are positive thoughts. Persistent past, sad and unhappy memories can cause anxiety and depression and mental disorders. Mind is parallel to consciousness and has layers just like the universe. Superficial layers. Here we have concrete and articulated thoughts, and everyone uses these all the time. Middle layers. More of abstract, conceptual, and intellectual, and used by a few. Deeper layers. More of calm, tranquil, and restful feelings, which we experience every night during deep sleep. Deepest layer, like the bottom floor of the ocean. This is our true inner self and is transcendental. This is the one the quantum physics call it unified field. We live in our minds, and our minds create our reality. There is no closer enemy to us than our own mind, and it's also our best friend. It's better to make mind as our best friend rather than an enemy. Mind is like a sharp knife. We can use it to cut vegetables or to cut ourselves, and it's up to our free will and judgment. Dreams are nothing but images that are generated by our sensory systems and stored in our subconscious mind. Later, they are projected on our mind screen as dreams. Deep sleep stage is our true self and bliss that everyone experiences every night. That's what we long for it throughout the day when we are awake. When a thought or an action is performed repeatedly, our brain readjusts the neurons to form a highway on which that impulse can travel with the least expenditure of energy, that is, energy conservation. The synapses are the network of connections between the neurons, like a web that line up in a chain of minimum effort and maximized performance. Neurons wire together and fire together. Our computers work on this same principle, that is, World Wide Web. In our brains, connections reflect our habits and patterns. That is why familiar thoughts are so much easier to reevaluate and understand than new concepts, and that is why we can mechanically perform complex tasks like driving, walking, or talking. It requires about 10,000 times repetition to develop a new neural pathway and master a new pattern of behavior, that is, neuroplasticity brain can learn. That means a minimum of 3 months of practice. And as you know, we cannot build a bridge overnight. So the old saying, "You cannot teach old dog new tricks," doesn't apply to brain. If you don't practice it, the pathway is unused and your brain will eventually disconnect it. So the old saying, "If you don't use it, you lose it," applies here to brain. You are the same person who plays many roles in a given day, like an actor on the stage, as a father, son, mother, daughter, wife, husband, brother, sister, employer, employee, teacher, student, friend, uncle, aunt, to name a few. Mind is always moving toward greater happiness because the nature of our inner being, our true self, is bliss, the infinite happiness and joy. Use of illicit street drugs, excessive alcohol, smoking, and some medications can cause distorted thoughts, nightmares, night terrors, and brain damage. Happiness and contentment. Happiness is temporary joy and pleasure from a source like material objects, a person, and it is also our ego gratification. It is a feeling of being pleased, and its meaning varies vastly among various cultures. Happiness is always dependent on external objects. Contentment, on the other hand, is a long-lasting serenity, equanimity, gratitude, satisfaction with life, abhorrence of greed and corruption, lack of envy, having discipline and humility, and at peace with non-conflicting mind. Feeling of contentment is universally applicable for all humans, regardless of their way of life, culture, and way of worship. Contentment is from within and is independent of external objects. Purity of mind and clarity of knowledge are essential to be content. Science. Science begins with a hypothesis, theory, speculation, idea first, and is then supported by experimental results. These results can be tested and reproduced independently by other scientists. Science begins with a what to be seen, known, discovered, measured, and repeated. Some of the proven science theories can be debunked in due time by other scientists' research with different results. Best example is Big Bang Theory. Science is always relative and cannot explain the absolute. Science cannot solve the ultimate mystery of nature. Knowledge is always there, and we only shed our ignorance. All branches of science are empirical and worldly knowledge only. Studying stars will not tell us who and what we are as human beings. With all the scientific progress made, we still are very far from the truth. Science, no doubt, does provide us with the material comforts to the body, mind, and five senses. Science never saved a soul. Science and spirituality are like our two eyes. Science without spirituality is lame. Consciousness. Consciousness, awareness, is stands of energy in the universe and is all pervasive senescence, and it is also flowing within our bodies through the 72,000 energy channels. String theory in quantum physics is similar to this. Consciousness illuminates our body-mind sensory complex just like a pilot light. It's the spark of life energy. Without consciousness, awareness, our bodies are dead logs and good for nothing. According to quantum physics, consciousness is stored at subatomic level in the protein-based microtubules in the living cells throughout the body. Universe is structured in layers of creation from superficial to profound and deep layers, from diversified to unified, similar to our minds. Our universe is more complex than we think and is like a giant brain. We can see a lot of similarities between cosmos, galaxies, and our brains and their neurons. Cosmos looks very much similar to our brains, but on a mega scale. Our brains are the mini version of the universe. So logically, we can say our consciousness is part of cosmic consciousness. Comparison and meaning require choice. In other words, consciousness. Information and meaning exist when it is perceived or measured. So, reality is a product of consciousness. Consciousness is operating behind the mind, senses, and bodily functions. Consciousness is also behind the infinite universe. Everything is part and parcel of consciousness awareness. Religion. The word religion gets its roots from Latin word religare, meaning to tie fast, religio, meaning good faith, ritual, and also Old French word religion. Religion is based on organized beliefs, faiths, and ritualistic practices by a set of groups of people. Throughout the history of mankind, millions of innocent people were killed, brutally slaughtered, raped, tortured, and converted in the name of religion than all the wars put together. History teaches us that the religions prey on creating fear of hell, heaven, and afterlife. Discrimination, divisions, differences for the sake of privileges, prestige, power to control and rule over the innocent, ignorant people in the world. Adversity and fear of unknown can paralyze anyone, and that's what religions count on. No one went to heaven or hell and came back to tell us about it. Every religion has its own imaginary descriptions about hell, heaven, and God's judgment for our actions. Religious visions, near-death experiences, eyewitnesses, conversations with angels and gods, revelations are all highly individual, non-universal, non-verifiable, controversial, and are also based on the individual's religious background and faith. In any religion, rituals, prayer, reading scriptures should help purify our minds and help us gaining higher knowledge about absolute reality, ultimate truth. Remember, history doesn't mean it is all accurate or historical with evidence. Most often, history is one's own story from their point of view, contaminated with personal bias, propaganda, and prejudice against other religions and countries. History is a set of lies agreed upon. Spirituality. Spirituality and religion are not the same. Spirituality is not a faith or belief. It is an individual practice with a sense of purpose and peace to life. Spirituality tries to understand beyond the matter, the external world, and realizes that there is something more to being human than mere sensory experiences. Spirituality looks at a greater whole, of which we are part of that infinite cosmic consciousness and awareness. A spiritual person can also be religious for the purification of mind and thoughts, but a religious person may not necessarily be a spiritual one. Spirituality provides peace and tranquility to the mind and soul. Spirituality never killed a soul. Philosophy. Study of fundamental nature of knowledge, reality and existence. Love of wisdom. Psychology. The scientific study of the human mind and its functions, especially those affecting the behavior in a given context. In other words, its study of mind and behavior. Self. Self is subjective inner sense of awareness, that is, consciousness of existence. Self is all-pervasive consciousness, awareness, common to all beings. Self reflects, manifests totally through the human mind and illumines the entire body, mind, sense complex, like electricity does through a light bulb. It is the pilot light. Self is a consciousness, awareness that transcends the individual, body, mind, sense complex. It is self-existent, universal, and infinite consciousness and awareness. Self is you, the observer, a witness, and is not our body, mind, sense complex. The most common mistake all of us do is identifying ourselves with the body, mind, sense complex and not with the self. absolute reality, ultimate truth. There is only truth, and it is second to none. That which is present at all times, in the past, present, and future. Truth is knowing what is real, and is also realizing that what we see and experience as the world is just forms and names only. Matter, that is energy, can neither be created nor destroyed. Something doesn't come out of nothing, and something doesn't disappear into nothing. It's just an unmanifest or manifested in one form or the other. Just like water, ice, vapor, and all are nothing but water particles in different forms. Absolute reality gives rise to ever-changing relative reality. Absolute higher knowledge is infallible, inscrutable, and indivisible. It is the knowledge that realizes the veritable in oneself in due course of time. Realizing that the ocean, giant waves, wavelets, froth, bubbles, and moisture at the shore, all are nothing but water in different forms or names. This awareness is absolute reality, ultimate truth. Realizing that all the gold ornaments like necklaces, chains, earrings, bangles, bracelets, rings, anklets, etc., all are names and forms only, and is nothing but the gold. This awareness is absolute reality, ultimate truth. Because we cannot see, we cannot deny the fact of existence of heat, that is fire in the wood, sweetness in the fruits, aroma in the air, oil in the seeds, salt in ocean's water, potential huge tree in a tiny seed, and consciousness awareness in all beings. Realizing this is absolute reality, ultimate truth. Knowing that the source behind our existence, life force, and thinking process is the infinite awareness and consciousness. This is absolute reality, ultimate truth. Knowing that the light and heat are non-separate from the sun is absolute reality, ultimate truth. Thought is also part of consciousness, just like heat is part of fire and sun. Awareness, consciousness is not an object to be seen because it is you, the subject. Human diseases. All beings are born with two diseases, namely hunger and thirst. However, humans have physical diseases, mental diseases, and religious diseases like fanaticism, terrorism, barbaric killings, conversions, and proselytization in the name of religion. And now let us look at human problems and conflicts, namely P3 and D3. P3: power, supremacy, might, privileges, money, materialism, prestige, status, fame, image, esteem, egoism. These culprits invariably lead humans to conflicts and problems like racism in all forms, which is very prevalent in modern society, oppression of other communities and women, shameful history of slavery, caste system, and class differences are very rampant in India like a cancer. However, class system is existing from the beginning of time and without exceptions is still existing in every country in one form or the other. No country, culture, or religion is immune to this. For power, people's lives are being controlled by politicians, lawyers, religious leaders, organizations, corrupt and biased media, pharmaceutical and insurance companies. They are all like a termite to the humanity. Religious fanaticism and conversions killed more innocent lives than all the wars put together. Government policies do not reduce violent crimes, especially gun violence. Remember, history doesn't mean it is accurate or historical with evidence. Most often, history is one's own story from their point of view, contaminated with personal bias and prejudice against other countries, cultures, and religions. History is a set of lies agreed upon. Illicit street drug use is rampant and contributes to violence and deaths. Lack of self-knowledge about our true nature, and also lack of introspection, self-analysis, reasoning, common sense, and logical thinking. All of the above are contributing to human conflicts and problems. And most of all, it's also due to the domination by 6 natural real enemies of our mind. First, lust, immense desire, libido, ardor. Second, anger, hatred, rage, frustration. 3. Greed, avarice, materialism, selfishness. 4. Delusory emotional attachment, infatuation, obsession, fixation. 5. Ego, pride, self-image, arrogance. And 6. Jealousy, envy, vanity, bitterness, grudge. These 6 enemies are controlling our minds instead of us controlling these enemies. Also, other compounding factors like blindly believing politicians' campaign promises, lawyers manipulating the laws, religious leaders' power for control by creating fears of afterlife, dogmatic doctrines, selfish organizations, greedy pharmaceutical drug and insurance companies are all like termites to the human mankind. We are brainwashed by the fake news media with their selfish motives, politically biased personal agendas, uncontrolled social media, and power money greedy politicians. Sadly, people are also idolizing sports, athletes, and entertainment industry as heroes and demigods. We are slaves to these 6 natural real enemies of our own mind, and hence we are grabbing onto the P3, that is power, privileges, prestige. D3, differences, divisions, discrimination. We see differences in everyone and everything as a result of P3. White and black racism leading to shameful history of slavery, rich and poor, upper class and lower class, smart and dumb, beautiful and ugly, powerful, mighty and weak, and the list goes on endlessly. Then, with P3 domination, we create divisions among people by using the divide and rule tactics like British used against Indian people to keep their power by promoting caste system, which is still prevalent as a cancer among Indians everywhere and is getting worse. Me, myself, and mine attitude is resulting in discrimination against each other, not only by the people but also by the countries. This ignorant thinking is taking the path of D3. If ignorance is a problem, knowledge is a definitive solution. Now let us look at the formula of MOM, MOM, managing our minds from the clutches of P3 and D3. And the only solution is R3. R3 is the only reasonable, logical, and commonsensical solution to the problems of P3 and D3. No government program or billions of dollars of taxpayers' money is going to solve this ongoing problem which has been there from the beginning of humanity. For the ignorance of P3 and D3 as a problem, knowledge through R3 is the only solution. So what is R3? R3 is read, reflect, realize. Read. Reading about the higher, superior, and supreme knowledge, that is, absolute reality and ultimate truth. Reflect. Reflect and meditate upon. Introspect. Practice oneness of cosmic consciousness awareness, which the quantum physics calls it unified field. Realize. Bring cognitive change to our thinking process. Recognize the P3 and D3. Grasp the absolute reality. Perceive the world as names and forms only. Take it all in and experience this feeling of oneness and contentment. Just theory and recognizing it is not enough, and we must experience it. Knowledge is of two kinds. The first one, empirical, mundane, and secular worldly knowledge, which we need to live and survive in this world. The second one, higher, superior, and supreme knowledge, which is required to know the true nature of our inner self. With this knowledge, we can control the mind and flow of thoughts instead of mind controlling us. This provides us peace with non-conflicting and content mind. Now let us understand the solution R3. Read, reflect, realize in detail. Read. We can learn from reading good books, listening to discourses and higher knowledge about absolute reality and the ultimate truth. We should read books that stimulate our interest, intellect, and provoke curiosity about absolute reality and the ultimate truth. And however, this reading should not be based on religion, philosophy, or psychology. Read more about the functions of the right half of the brain and constantly practice how to tap into the potential of the right half of the brain and nurture it. This sounds like metaphysics, but it is not. Our desire for the true knowledge, peace of mind, and contentment must be stronger than our attachment to the ego and materialism. Reflect. Daily, we should spend some time for ourselves to meditate, reflect upon self-analysis, self-inquiry, introspection, and ponder about the absolute reality and the ultimate truth. Always think logically with reason and common sense. With practice, we will rediscover our inner self and true nature. During contemplation, we should feel connected with the infinite universe, cosmic consciousness, and oneness, which is our real self. Anytime we are baffled, we should look at the sky as a reminder. It is an empty space, just like the all-pervasive consciousness and awareness. But the only difference is that space is not aware of its existence and is one of the 5 basic elements of the universe: space, air, fire, water, and earth. Space is also an object to you, because you are the subject, and as an observer or witness, you can perceive the space. In reality, you are in space, and space is also inside you, and it's all space. This kind of mental contemplation and reflection helps you a lot in clearing your doubts about unlimited and infinite cosmic consciousness and realizing that you are part of it like you are part of the space. Yoga is nothing but gaining mastery over our body and mind. Yoga has 8 limbs, and practicing those may give us temporary peace of mind when doing it, but does not teach us about absolute reality, by knowing which gives us stable mind that is free of conflicts. Realize, cognitive change happens slowly and gradually. So we shouldn't get discouraged if we are having difficulty understanding this knowledge, but keep on reading and reflecting upon. Don't worry, millions and billions of people are in our shoes, but the special thing about us is that we are on the path of self-discovery, and that should encourage us in pursuing higher, superior, and supreme self-knowledge. Remember, we cannot get a PhD degree without finishing high school, undergraduation, graduation, and masters. Acquiring this higher self-knowledge is no different than that. Eventually, we will start experiencing this ultimate truth through self-analysis and self-discovery. Experience happens in the mind with the integration of 5 sensations, that is, smell, touch, hearing, vision, and taste. With a fluid beam of energy, which is not an organic object, we are free to consciously choose not to rebuild some of our old mental bridges, P3, D3, by doing yoga and meditation. Yoga is gaining mastery over our body and mind. Eventually, we love to experience being one with the universe and with everyone and everything. Most of all, we will love the deeper inner space that flood the core of our being. With this experience, we will break the barriers of P3 and D3. Why is cognitive change required? Because once we realize that we are also part of that infinite cosmic consciousness and awareness, and that understanding will always stay with us and nobody can steal it from us. Moreover, we can share it with fellow humans and change their lives with no cost to us or to them. There is no investment or expenses on our part. This is a permanent solution and does not change over a period of time, like the scientific research does, because this knowledge is about you, the self, and it is the absolute and the ultimate truth. It does not require any research or research scientists or billions of dollars for social programs. No need for the politicians wasting taxpayers' money and billions of dollars for unnecessary programs, research, and task forces, and during that process, siphon some of it and also get rich for themselves. We can gain insight into what makes one feel content by gaining this absolute knowledge rather than running after temporary ego gratification with materialism. When our thoughts are overwhelming and driving us insane, all we have to do is let our thoughts flow. Mindfulness. Don't try to stop them or react to them. Don't judge them. say to ourselves, what will be the next thought? During that anticipation, thoughts will slowly cease to flow. This has to be practiced on a daily, regular basis to gain mastery. This is also a kind of meditation where we focus on a particular thing, universal consciousness and awareness that gives us peace of mind. Apply reason, logic, and common sense. We can call it little RLC. Contentment is nothing but non-conflicting peace of mind. Finally, what we should do. Remind ourselves constantly about the absolute reality and the ultimate truth, which applies to the entire humanity, regardless of their way of lifestyle, culture, or way of their worship. To understand infinity, look up at the sky and realize the cosmic consciousness in which we are part of. We shouldn't do harm to others in the name of religion, P3 and D3. If anything, history should teach us is to correct our mistakes, committed against fellow humans with our selfishness and immense greed. We should also learn to treat fellow humans the way we like to be treated and make progress toward real humanity and not the materialistic gains, comforts, and boast about those achievements to the world. We have to identify our inner thoughts, conflicting opposites, and not to think that we are conflicted. We have to learn to have the power to consciously stop thinking about events that have occurred in the past, causing anxiety, sadness, and depression. And we should constantly align ourselves with the present. Constantly exercise to step into the right half of the brain with peaceful thoughts. This is a decision we have to make thousands of times per day. Realize that detachment, transcendence, peace, inner silence, and being at one with the self, all these are always inside us too. It is so because every day we experience all these during a moment of ecstasy and during our deep sleep. Only thing we have to do is recognizing it, realizing it, and reminding ourselves of it. Also, we should help fellow humans to touch and reach those heights of bliss. Gradually, it will bring oneness in all of us as the cognitive change occurs slowly within everyone. There is no other program or research in the world that can bring oneness in all than the cognitive change with the highest knowledge about the absolute reality and ultimate truth. We should teach our children, grandchildren, who are the futures of our world, to tend carefully to the garden of their minds. Make them understand that it is natural for the thoughts to run wild, rampant, and redundant, and hence there is underlying need for simple weeding of those thoughts periodically, like the gardener does to flower garden to keep it clean and beautiful. People have the power of free will to choose this knowledge over temporary gains from money, power, materialism, people, and illicit drugs, which don't last long and are proven to be harmful and ineffective. Don't forget that every mind has a potential and possibility. We should always remember, R3 is a solution to human problems and conflicts from P3D3. You are the problem and you are the solution. Absolute higher knowledge is the ultimate power and nothing is superior to it. We live in our minds and our minds create our reality. There is no closer enemy than our own mind, and it's also our best friend. It always makes sense to make friendship with our minds. Mind is like a sharp knife, and we can use it either to cut vegetables or to cut ourselves. And it's always our free will and choice that makes the difference. We should always apply reason, logic, and common sense, a little RLC. Nobody can uplift us except ourselves. There is only race, that is human race. Any religion or culture should teach tolerance towards fellow humans and other religions. Ignorance, lack of self-knowledge in many forms is the root cause of all the evil problems and conflicts in the world. We should always remember, nobody can degrade us without our consent. If we give fish to a person, he eats it for that day. And if we teach him how to fish, he eats for life. It's okay to have desires and comforts to a limit. Nobody is perfect. We all do mistakes. And we all have our own deficiencies. That's why pencils have erasers. But one should make an effort to realize the absolute reality and the ultimate truth for one's own peace of mind and contentment. Happiness is a material dependent joy and enjoyment, which is relative and short-lived. Whereas, learn to be content with satisfaction in life is everlasting. Everyone has potential and possibility, and even if one may not have the capability. However, persistence and perseverance pay off at the end, no matter who we are. By pouring continuously from a pot full of clean water into a glass full of dirty water, and then eventually the glass with dirty water will be filled with clean water. Same way, we can get rid of our self-ignorance and gain higher knowledge with R3. Apply reason, logic, and common sense, a little RLC. The more time we spend choosing the deep inner peace acuity of our right hemisphere, and the more peace, tranquility, equanimity, and bliss we will experience. And in turn, we will project that into the world, and eventually, the more peaceful our planet will be. We don't just live, but should live wisely. We don't live just to eat, but eat to live. Cognitive change only can reform a person, culture, nation, or the world. It only can bring reform within us. Purposely, we should choose to step into the right hemisphere of our brains and find this peace, tranquility, and bliss. Of course, value is a value for a person who values the value of that value. Please let us do this. Any given day, let us keep few moments for our inner self and sit in a quiet place. Try to understand every word of this and practice this every day. This is a voluntary effort and we must do it on a daily basis. Yoga is gaining mastery over our body and mind. By gaining superior knowledge and with that cognitive change, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So from now on, let us change our minds and the way we look at things. We should introspect our true nature and say to ourselves, I am not this body. I am not this mind and I am not these senses. I am pure consciousness and awareness. I am deathless eternal self and an observer, witness to this body-mind-sense complex, and is also a witness to all and everything. The world I see is nothing but forms and names only. Knowing this absolute reality and ultimate truth, the supreme infinite cosmic energy, consciousness and awareness gives a mental strength, confidence about our life, destroys phenomenal existence, and eventually it leads to non-conflicting peace of mind. Use R3 on a daily basis to destroy P3 and D3, and it works. As a neurologist and psychiatrist, I can guarantee that. Peace, peace, peace.